Hi everyone, my name's Ben. I'm one of the volunteers here at EDP. Um, I think this is working. I had problems with this earlier today, but yeah, someone let us know if it's not. Um, yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I was quite calm up until about 2 minutes ago. Then the sort of fears kicked in a bit, but it's a bit weird as well, just staring at myself on video talking. Um, but EDP asked us volunteers to to share our stories and and try and help someone. And EDP put a lot of faith in me over the last couple of years. Um, so today, if I have an opportunity to sort of help out, then I will. Um, yeah, I'm 16 months free from from alcohol and all drugs. Um, I found a way out from alcohol and drug addiction. Um, you know, I got to that point where I was physically addicted to heroin and alcohol. And I got to the point where I was really wanting just for all to end. Um, but like I say, I found a way out today. Um, I'm here to share my story really and tell how I got to this point in my life. It's it started, very similar to most people I've heard. I was probably about 12 years old and at school, and me and my mates, we used to have a little drink at the weekend. It was nothing, it wasn't a lot of alcohol. It was, a couple, some Diamond Whites, a couple of bottles of them, but I was, I was excited by it. It was kind of thrilling, um, and I felt like an adult, I guess. Um, but I was very uncomfortable as a child. You know, I had feelings that I wasn't good enough, and I always felt a deep sense of shame as a kid, and but probably around about 13, I started hanging around with older kids. Um, I felt accepted, and again probably a bit of an adult, and I first was introduced to speed, amphetamine, about 13 years old, and hi everyone. And I didn't become addicted straight away. It was just a little bit, and and it wasn't every weekend at that time of my life. It was really dependent on whether the older lads wanted me around, and but it's slowly it started to have an impact on my early life. Around sort of 14 at school, I was smoking a lot more um, hash, cannabis, and school kind of got in the way of it all really, and I could not wait to leave school and get a job on the building site, and I left at the earliest opportunity, and that's really where my drug use sort of took off. I was smoking sort of cannabis all day every day, and again, I was introduced to um heroin really at 16. Again, it's just dependent on the people I was hanging around with at the time, the older lads, and I was always fearful of drugs up to that point, but I couldn't wait to try it. I could not wait to try it, and then slowly I sort of got my own group of friends, and we all kind of drank and used the same, really, and uh, and then it got chaotic. I was getting in trouble with the law, and I had a term in prison. And I got out of, as I was getting out of prison, I was saying to myself, I'll stay away from the heroin, and I'll just carry on smoking cannabis, and I'll have a drink and, a couple of these at the weekend. And I went out with that, mentality, but very quickly it sort of, it got worse again, and I started smoking heroin quite a bit more. Um, and I remember, I got into a relationship, and I loved her, but she used to say to me, "You got to stop, you got to stop," and and I really wanted to, but the intention was to, but I always went back to it, and then eventually she left, and and I had a lot of emotional pain with that, and I remember that was the first time I really looked at drugs as that I needed drugs to get me through that pain, whereas before it was just part of my life, but I really looked at drugs as like a solution to pain then really. um, and it's just been a natural progression. I got prison again, and I left there, and I thought, well, I've got to move away, because I thought my environment was the problem really. um, and I did move away, and I did get a period of stability. I got a job. I had made some friends again, and I stayed away from heroin really for about 5 6 months. I was still smoking every day, and having a drink in the evening, and doing some cocaine and ecstasy at the weekends, but it wasn't really. I could still turn up for work. um, but then I started again looking for heroin about 6 months being there, and really then, my kind of life started to fall apart. It consumed me. It can totally consumes me, and it got to a point where I lost my job, and it got to a point where I'd only leave the flat to go out and score drugs, and I'd go back and have the curtains drawn, and you know up until then, drugs sort of, it helped me really sort of socialize, and be a part of life. And but then it was the complete opposite of that. It took me away from life. It took me away from everyone, and it really got quite painful. And that was in my sort of early to mid 20s. And um, but again, I thought I needed to change something, so I went back home, and I stayed with my mum and dad. And but there, nothing in my drug use didn't change. It just, I started stealing off my mum and dad. It was quite horrific looking back, that. And I'd always go through this process of trying to swap drugs to get up, to use one drug to get off another drug. To get off heroin, I would take, sort of hydrocodone, which is basically opiate in tablet form. That didn't work, and then I tried Valium to come off the opiates, and that didn't work. Then I try and drink my way through it, and then I'm drinking and using heroin and Valium, and it was just absolute chaos. And where I was, I was so ill in the mornings that I reached out to an alcohol drug service where I was, and I got put on methadone, and you know for a brief period, it did. My life started to improve. I was able to go back to work. um I wasn't stealing off my mum and dad. I wasn't sort of ripping people off. I did get some stability back, and for a short period, I do believe sort of methadone or Subutex is a positive thing, because it brings stability into my life. And anyone who is on that, and it's brought periods of stability, and you bring that into your family household, that's a good thing. But from my experience, it's not a long-term solution, because the drug use started to creep in, and my alcohol intake again. It got to a point where I was drinking sort of all day, every day. Um, so I looked to get to do a detox, and I got clean, um, I got clean, and I started to build my life up. I started attending 12-step meetings, but what happened was I'd get clean, and with the alcohol and drug service I was engaged with, I'd just say thank you very much. I'm on my way now, and I cut all contact with them. So immediately, I cut off that support network straight away. But I went to 12-step meetings, but I didn't really fully engage in that either. Um, and I started to build my life up quite a bit. But I pulled away from 12-step fellowships. So again, I'd cut that support network off, and that time came where I picked up a drug again. And and when I picked up that drug, I pretty much started from where I left off, you know, at the end of that that time I was using last, and very quickly, you know, it was back to, you know, in my room, curtains drawn, you know, and the self-hatred started to come back, you know, that kind of desperation, and really, you know, I was kind of stopping and starting for quite a while after that, and you know, and again, you know, so what I did, I had a friend who lived in Devon, who was a good friend of mine, and he said, look, and he was sort of clean, and he said, you know, come over, and you know, and try again, and I did, you know, but I my drug use just got worse and worse, you know, and I ended up, I lost my place in supported housing, ended up in a night shelter. Um, you know, my mum and dad, you know, they took me out there and put me into a little room, a room in a house share in Exmouth, and you know, at that time I'd reached out to EDP actually, and they, you know, and I got help with getting on a Subutex script. But you know, again, I did the bare minimum. I didn't really engage with them, and I ended up again just sat in my room, um, drinking all day, every day on my Subutex, and then just waiting for my benefits to come in, and then you know, then I'd go out and score drugs, and again, it got so desperate, and it felt just like the walls were closing in, you know, because I'd sit there, and the way my thinking goes, you know, I'd look at, I'd replay in my mind, you know, all the things I did, to get drugs, all the people I've harmed, all those missed opportunities, and also all what my life could have been like, you know, if I hadn't done all that, and it's pure, you know, I look at it, it's self pity, but when you're in that kind of thinking, you know, it's horrific, really, and you know, I couldn't really see a way out at that point. Um, you know, but what happened was, people were still phoning me that were part of the 12-step fellowship. You know, they never gave up on me, even though I'd really sort of given up on myself, and you know, and I eventually, you know, I started picking up on the phone again and started speaking to some people in the fellowship, and you know, and I reached back out to EDP, and you know, we came up with a detox plan, and you know, it didn't happen straight away. I had a few bumps along the road, but um, you know, I got clean, and with that support, with the support of EDP, with the support of the fellowship, and yeah, it was uh, it was bumpy, but you know, I got there, you know. But as I was getting those last few days of that detox, you know, I knew in my heart, you know, that something had to really seriously change, because I'd got clean before, and I nothing, you know, nothing really changed, and I knew in my heart that it had to be me. Um, you know, it had to be me, you know. So I got some clear direction on how to do that, because I can come up with how to do it, you know. Because if I could have done that, I'd have done that years ago. Um, you know, so I got some clear cut direction on that, and I was able to look at myself, and look at my past. Um, you know, and also one of the great things about it is that I was able to look at sort of some of the damage I'd done to people as well. You know, because if there's anyone watching this, you know, and they've, you know, you've got like a family, you've got like a friend or a family member, or you know, like your son or your daughter, and they're really sort of, you know, struggling with drug addiction. You know, I do have a little bit of understanding about that since going through the work, because you know, my dad passed away in December 2018, and you know, and he died with the knowing that is, you know, that I was out there killing myself with alcohol and drugs, and you know, and my mum and dad tried and tried and tried to help me sort it out, you know, and they couldn't, and that has an effect on people. Or you know, drug addiction doesn't just hurt the drug addicts, you know, it hurts, it makes people unwell around them, and I have some understanding of that today, and I haven't been, obviously I can't make direct amends to my dad for my behaviour and that, but what I've been shown a way to do is that I can demonstrate some change in my life that's then has a real positive impact on my mum. She can I know she can put her head on a pillow at night and have a belief that she isn't going to get a phone call telling her that I've died from a heroin overdose in some car park stairwell. She's not going to get a call from the police that I've been arrested, and I'm not going to be phoning her, harassing and manipulating her for money. And that's been one of the joys of my recovery so far. And and because I'm clean and doesn't mean that life's all rainbows and butterflies for me. I'm a human being and I have human emotions and I have human problems you know and particularly during this lockdown. I've some days on occasion I can wake up and think, oh God, here we go again. What is there to look forward to? But I've been shown some daily disciplines to do, and that's through a 12-step fellowship. But there's loads of other um, support networks out there, and all I'd say is just be open-minded to look at them all, really. And I was given some stuff to do from when I get up, really, and it's not drastic things. It's things like I've got a book from a 12-step fellowship that I use as a tool of recovery. I read a little bit of that, and there's some directions in there. It's just little things like I'll write a plan for the day. I'll type that into my phone. Little things like try a bit of guided meditation. If I woke up feeling a bit anxious, there's loads of stuff on YouTube about that. If I'm feeling a bit of lack of gratitude, there's guided meditation for that. I tried silent meditation, but I can't do it. I just have a mind that doesn't shut up, and my mind was more exhausted after I did the meditations than before it sitting in silence, so I don't do that. But, and also throughout my day, I was told, make some calls to people that are in recovery, all different kinds of people who are long-term clean, people who are just got clean, people who are, wanting to get clean, who are struggling, just try and be of use to people. And that works, and that kind of changes my, like I say, if I wake up feeling quite negative, it changes my attitude. And you know what? Some days I do wake up feeling, positive and looking forward to the day. But despite how I feel, I still do those daily disciplines, and I was shown that through 12-step fellowships. So if there's anyone out there you're watching this and you're at a point like where I was, where you're just wishing for the end and you sat there kind of hating yourself, for one thing I can guarantee you, how you feel about yourself is not accurate. um I've got talents and so do you. The travesty would be if you just didn't do anything about that. So please, wherever you're at, even if you're on a maintenance script and you just feel something's missing, or you're just there, maybe your drinking's getting a little bit out of hand, it just requires just a little bit of self-honesty to maybe think something's not right. And, I had to do that, and a bit of willingness just to reach out. Because there is help, there is help available. And I always try to do it myself, and I just couldn't do it. I had to hold my hands up and just have a little bit of faith and reach out. And there's EDP have got a great team, some great staff members, that they do care. And I've seen it firsthand. I've sat in recovery groups, and I've been blown away by their passion and how much they care and their willingness to help. And they've got lived experience in helping people sort of turn their lives around and improve their lives. That's on offer. um, and also another thing, is like I regularly attend sort of 12-step meetings online, and there's loads that you could have a meeting all day, every day, all different places around the world that's available. But maybe a good idea would be to try and find an online meeting in your local area, because you know, I've been on meetings where people will post their numbers, and you know, and they'll phone you, and if you're struggling, and you know, and they'll have a talk with you, you know, and you know, and that's great, you know. And you know, today I do that, and you know, I'll meet someone from recovery in the fellowship, and we have a little walk along the Exeter Quay, and you know, we have a laugh, we have a joke, and you know, I'm not, you know, I'm not on my own, and you're not, you know, you don't have to be. Um, and also, you know, we've got a virtual cafe that's on, you know, 11 a.m. Monday to Friday. You know, come and join us, man. Be great to see you. You just don't know what could happen by just reaching out, you know. Um, I mean, I'll leave it there because I'm probably running out of things to say. But um, you know, I like I said, you know, recovery isn't all rainbows and butterflies for me. But you know, by demonstrating some of the change and trying to practice that, you know, you know, at night I can look in the mirror and think, you know, I'm all right, I'm okay. Um, you know, I'm not person that this horrible person that I thought I was, you know, because I'm living today with some principles that I was shown, you know, and that's really had a positive effect, just not on me, but the people around me. You know, so you know, I'd like, you know, EDP have been fantastic. They, you know, I got involved with volunteering, and they've shown a lot of faith in me actually. You know, and I really enjoy sort of being a part of that. So, I'll leave it there. But yeah, thanks very much, everyone.